Right now, there's a major shift happening in the housing market. And if you don't understand it, you're going to miss opportunities whether you're buying or selling. Here's the headline. Today's market is driven by equity-rich homeowners, not first-time home buyers. According to the latest data from the National Association of Realtors, baby boomers, yes, ages 61 to 79, now make up the largest share of both buyers and sellers in the market. In fact, they account for 42% of all buyers and 55% of all sellers right now. That's a big shift. For years, we've talked about millennials dominating the market, and that's changed, and the reason is simple: equity. Homeowners who have been in their homes 10, 15, or even 20 years have seen massive appreciation. The average homeowner has gained over $128,000 in housing wealth in just the past 6 years alone. So what does that all mean? It means a large portion of today's buyers aren't struggling to get in. They're moving up, downsizing, or repositioning with cash and equity on their side. And that's why we're still seeing strong activity even with higher interest rates. Now, on the flip side, first-time buyers are facing a completely different reality. They've dropped to just 21% of the market, the lowest share ever recorded. Why? Affordability. Higher home prices, higher rates, and limited inventory have made it harder to break in. In fact, the average first-time homebuyer is now 40 years old, compared to the late 20s decades ago. But here's where it gets interesting, and where opportunity starts to open up. We're beginning to see some movement. As rates have eased slightly and inventory has increased, first-time buyers made up 32% of buyers in March of this year. That tells us something important. There's pent-up demand sitting on the sidelines. People want to buy. They're just waiting for the right window. Now let's talk about another key group: move-up buyers. Older millennials, especially those in their late 30s and 40s, are now some of the highest earners in the market, with an average incomes of about $132,000. They're buying larger homes, often because they have families, and many of them are using equity from their current homes to make that move. So again, you're seeing a theme here. Equity is driving mobility. And then there's Gen Z. They're still a small portion of the market, about 4%, but they're changing the game in a different way. They're buying younger, often single, and not waiting for traditional milestones like marriage or kids. In fact, 35% of Gen Z buyers are single females, the highest of any generation. That's a big shift in how homeownership looks moving forward. Now let's bring this all together and talk about what it means for you. If you're a homeowner, this is one of the most important things to understand. Your equity is your advantage. You may feel stuck because of your current interest rate, but the reality is you have options that first-time buyers simply don't. You can leverage that equity to move, downsize, relocate, or even invest. If you're a buyer, especially a first-time buyer, you need a strategy more than ever. This is not a market where you just scroll online and win. This is where having the right guidance, understanding opportunities, and knowing how to compete makes all the difference. And one more thing that stood out in the data: over 88% of buyers and 91% of sellers worked with real estate agents. That tells you something. In a market this complex, people aren't going it alone. They want someone to help them navigate, negotiate, and make smart decisions. So whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just trying to figure out your next move, this is the kind of market where having a plan matters. And that's exactly what I help people do every single day. If you got questions about your situation, your equity, and what makes sense for you, reach out anytime. I'm Paul Washington, Keller Williams. Make it a great day.